And it's been very hard for them.
Well, what do you think? We want your views. Should they have put Christine Bleakley in attack? Or maybe defence? Email us news@sky.com. Text us on 84501. What do you think of Uruguayan referees and touchline judges?
Don't make them too rude, though. They
no,
have to be
but you're
repeatable.
keeping faith with the red top this morning.
Yes.
You've taken the lions off, but at least you've still got the red strip, which is good news. Anyway, Charlotte's here for the rest of the day's news.
Thanks very much, Mark. Good morning. The Chancellor George Osborne has warned that the government will focus on cutting key benefits in an attempt to pare back Britain's huge welfare bill. Osborne said savings to the multi-billion... And it's true, Sunday was officially the hottest day of the year so far, and that warm weather is looking set to continue. The top temperature of 30.9 degrees centigrade, that's 87.6 Fahrenheit, was recorded at Gravesend in Kent, and that is hotter than many Mediterranean resorts and the holiday island of Bermuda. Much of England's expected to stay warm all week, especially in the southeast, but rain could spoil the sunbathing in parts of northwest England and Wales. Isn't that good news, though? Sunshine for the rest of the week.
He was building that sandcastle yesterday. He's been on that beach all day, all night, and he's still going, doing a very good job.
Who can blame him in the sunshine?
Apparently it was raining in Bermuda yesterday. There we are. Thank you very much. Let's look at the Monday papers. Certain Ernst Vaden's just emailed, bring back Mike Bassett as England manager. Keep them coming. A very good morning. You're watching Sunrise with me, Mark Longhurst. We're live through until 9 o'clock. Still to come review the papers with Sam. Little bit of World Cup there. Just a little bit. Yeah. Charlotte, too, the rest of the headlines. But first, Fabio Capello facing an uncertain.
We could have a look at.
Someone, however, is still wearing their red shirt. Still, you know, you take the red lions off.
I'm regretting this slightly now, actually.
No, keep the faith. However, we shall reflect on your views a little later. They're still coming in. Some people suggesting forget Mike Bassett, try Bertie Bassett instead. Anyway, Charlotte's got the rest of the headlines for us this morning.
Thanks, Mark. The Chancellor George Osborne has warned that the government will focus on cutting key benefits in an attempt to pare back Britain's huge welfare bill. Osborne said savings to the multi-billion-pound
post. Thank you very much indeed. Time for the papers with Sam. Sam, of course, editor of Heat magazine, and much heat, but don't know much light in the papers this morning.
Well, most of the papers, starting with The Sun, who unsurprisingly have gone for it in the most biggest and dramatic way on the cover with you've let your country down, picture of Capello and all the players. But most of the papers, the general sentiment is that we're kind of, as always, locked between a deep sense of injustice with regards to the disallowed goal and a deep sense of rage at ourselves. So, you know, I feel that in every World Cup, I've followed several World Cups, and really we always come out of it with these twin emotions, stronger with each passing year. Injustice mixed with rage and self-hatred. In many ways, those two things are coming to define the whole national psyche. The Sun are the angriest, of course, they always are. And inside, we're mixed between blaming ourselves and blaming the linesman and blaming Sepp Blatter.
So, what sort of victim culture, you mean?
There's a victim culture, yeah, but there's a kind of strange contradiction in that they're blaming Sepp Blatter for the lack of technology, they're blaming the linesman, they're blaming the German goalkeeper for being so cheeky as to grab the ball and run as if nothing had happened. So we're pointing the finger in the press, and yet at the same time, on the same pages, we're saying, well, we simply weren't good enough. So it's very confused. There's a lot of rage out there, and it's a dangerous, unfocused rage. So I don't know what the outcome is.
It may get a focus on a certain Italian gentleman, though, according to the Daily Mail.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Daily Mail are Matt Lawton, their chief football correspondent, is a lone voice in the papers this morning saying that Fabio Capello actually needs to stay in the job. And I've got a lot of sympathy with this point of view. The reality of that game yesterday was that we had a bunch of players who underperformed. Yeah,
particularly the defence.
And rumour has it that one of their excuses that they're busily pulling together for themselves is that they were unhappy with the regime that Capello had set up out in South Africa, which to my mind is absolutely unforgivable. Even if they weren't happy with perhaps the way Capello communicated with them, they're top experienced international well-paid players. You would have thought that just out of pride, professional pride and patriotism, they would perform regardless. But seemingly, because Capello didn't perhaps communicate with them in the way that they were used to, they decided to sulk out on the field and let down the millions of supporters watching them. So I think that what England need more than anything is a strong manager. Not go back to the days. There seems to be a terrible.
Do they need an English manager? That's going to be one of the questions, because you know, the bookie's already hard at work on you know, looking at Harry Redknapp particularly.
Well, there's an interesting vicious circle that goes on with the England squad. Is that, you know, you go back to the days when Kevin Keegan was the manager, and everyone said, well, he's a nice guy, but he's tactically naive. We need a foreigner.
We need one of those continental
chaps. So then you end up with Sven-Göran Eriksson, and everyone sort of liked him for a little while, and they said he was too soft. And now they've got Capello, and they said he's too hard, so we'll go on and on and on.
Anyway, let's move away from the football to politics, and it's back on your bike, is it?
Back on your bike, yes. Ian Duncan Smith made a speech yesterday about the need for the workforce to be more mobile and move around the country, particularly those who are in social housing should be able to move around the country and go where the work is. You know, reminiscent of Norman Tebbett's very controversial "get on your bike" speech from the 1980s, and you know, just another sign that, you know, the cost cutting that the coalition government have had to do, bringing back those memories of the harsh memories of the Thatcher era, where, you know, services for the poorest in society are being slashed. It's another example of people being cut loose. You know, he's saying go where the work is. As Paul Routledge points out in a comment piece on the same page here in the Mirror, there simply isn't any work, you know, regardless of where you live. And there's going to be even less as the cuts become
most of the work
severe.
Is available, service industries in the South East, which is where the housing is most expensive.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. So harsh times ahead.
Right, Obama and Cameron sharing a beer in Toronto.
David Cameron...
Hobgoblin too, so Obama's drinking British stuff.
Well, I don't know whether or not he drank it. He's looking at it rather nervously there, and I don't blame him. I think, you know, it's for any foreigners, it's always hard for them to get their heads around the notion of warm beer.
With a thin white scum on the top.
They had a bet prior to the USA-England football match. When they were chatting on the phone, they had a bet that they would that one would buy the other one a beer, and the other, you know, depending on the result. And of course, it was a draw. So Obama's given David Cameron some of his local Chicago brew and Hobgoblin beer.
Goose Island 312.
Yeah, it's a cool name, isn't it?
Sounds like some kind of virus
show from the 70s. I like it. And Hobgoblin is brewed in David Cameron's constituency. That's why he's given them that. They both seem very happy and joyous. I just think there's a certain irony to it, because there's a drop-in photo here of rioters, anti-capitalist rioters outside the summit, all going berserk. And meanwhile, inside, the two of the world's most powerful people just have a chuckle and exchange beers and talk about football. Yeah,
the giveaway is that the cap is still on the bottle of beers, if you look very carefully.
Yeah, I think it was unlikely they were going to get stuck into those crates last night. Of course, neither of them know anything about football.
No, and neither of them know anything about music, but the rest of us suddenly are in with the kids, or down with the kids at Glastonbury.
At Glastonbury, yes, it's just amazing the amount of coverage that Glastonbury gets. There's a big page here in the Guardian newspaper, right in the front news section, and it's just amazing with each passing year, generally in the papers, the amount of coverage this one festival, and amidst dozens of others that go on throughout the summer, gets. You know, even in the midst of a big political summit going on in Toronto, we've got big World Cup, we've got Wimbledon going over, and they still find so much space across all of the papers for Glastonbury, which, you know, as much as I know it has very big fans, it's just another music festival where people kind of sit around and eat overpriced hot dogs all day.
How can you say that as editor of Heat magazine? Because that's the one that all the celebrities go to.
Oh, it's interesting for me because, of course, we'll be covering it, you know, but that's our remit because, you know, our readers are fascinated by this sort of thing. It's just amazing how much that people get at the coverage it gets. Nice story here about a couple from Lincolnshire who gave birth to their first child there at the festival, refused to leave. They got heli lifted, I think, to the Oval Hospital, came back with the baby an hour later. Amazing.
And the name will be, however, we shall see. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you soon. You're watching Sunrise on our website. And we want your views and perhaps a few of your quotes as well. Don't forget you can email us news@sky.com, text us 84501. Sue from Dundee saying, if we've got Diego Maradona managing Argentina, what about Gaza for England? Just let that hang in the air. However, let's get an update first with the rest of the day's news. Here's Charlotte.
Thanks, Mark. The Chancellor, George Osborne, has warned that the government will focus on cutting key benefits in an attempt to pare back Britain's huge welfare bill. Osborne said savings to the multi-billion-pound
Very happy at
benefits
that.
bill.
Lots of...
Some of the rain.
Yeah.
My lawn's looking very
Yeah.
brown.
Not just the lawns, the old
green
flower
bit
beds. And,
inside.
yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Charlotte. More news coming up. But